Yo, it's your farmer boy CMG. So, it doesn't always have to be that expensive G Master or Canon RF lens. So yesterday I visited Marcus in his garden and I took some shots with this Canon FD lens, which cost me about 250 bucks on eBay. It's a 55mm 1.2 s.s.c. I don't know exactly how old this lens is, but it looks old. So then I got that lens adapter from K&F Concept, which cost me about 20 bucks. And it simply lets you connect your old Canon FD lenses to a new system like the EOS R, EOS R5. You can also get this for Sony, for Fuji, for almost any mirrorless camera on the market. So that is the setup I used yesterday to just take some shots in the garden while the sun was setting, and the photos turned out pretty nice, so I wanted to share them with you, take you with me for a short insight into Lightroom. Of course it's manual focus, there was no AF back in the days, but anyway it was pretty fun to shoot manual and to learn how to use a manual lens compared to just pulling that shutter 1,000 times. And that's what I love about that old vintage lenses, that the images turn out to be not so perfect, not so sharp. There's a lot of lens flares inside and everything looks more film-like. That's the sound of changing the aperture. Let's jump into Lightroom and I'll show you some of the photos. Please don't expect too much on my editing process. To be honest, I just use my presets and then do some minor adjustments to get the final look. I guess at least 2 of you asked for this, so I thought, come on, let's make a video on how I achieved that film look, that analog vintage stuff. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom. Let's go through some photos. First one of Colleen standing in the field with a beautiful lens flare. Believe me, if you got lens flares like this in your photos, models will stand in line to shoot with you. I guarantee you that. Let me reset this really quick. So this is the raw photo out of camera. Often I just bring down the highlights, change the temperature, but you can do some cool shifts over here at the calibration tab, especially if you want to get that real heavy teal and orange look. You can just pull down the blue primary, just don't overdo it. If it comes to skin tones, I like to pull up the green primary to get some more reds into the skin tones, but I will show you in a second on another photo. Of course, add some grain for that analog film look. You can add some sharpening, but if you want to achieve that real analog film look, just leave it at 0, because film photography never was that sharp. Here's another one I like. So if we zoom in, you can see there's a lot of grain going on, but if we turn off the grain, it's simply too perfect, too static and unorganic for a vintage photograph. So I like to add some grain around 40, depending on the photo, of course. Pulling up that roughness a bit. Yeah, that looks nice. So you can pull down the highlights, because you might never see a blown out part in a vintage photograph which was shot on film. And that's because even if something is blown out in your photo, if you shot it on film, it would not look like white. It would look like something off-white, something more creamy, and therefore you can just pull down the highlights to give it a bit more of that vintage look. So you see, it's pretty hard to nail focus, especially if you're shooting wide open at 1.2 aperture. It's a pretty thin line to nail the focus or totally mess it up. Anyway, I like this photo because it's not that perfect. It looks somewhat more organic. So here's this shot of Marcus playing around with his new 70-200 RF lens. And let me reset this quick. This is the photo right out of camera. Pulling down clarity helps also to achieve that vintage look sometimes, because it takes away some of the contrast, takes away some of the detail. Of course, don't forget the crushed blacks. So you see if I pull up that hue in the green primary tab, how the skin tones change from yellow to red. So that's definitely a good start to get some better skin tones over here. Yeah, nice. So on this one I think I used, let me see. So somehow my presets are just gone. I used the Kelly 2.0 pack on all the photos over here, but now they're gone. I don't know why. Anyway, you can get the preset pack in my shop if you want to support me, or you can simply copy all that settings you see over here and play around for yourself. I love this one. Let me reset this first. That's the photo out of camera. So I did some cropping over here. So I'm copying all the settings from this one and pasting it over here. It's a bit too cold. Now I want to bring up the shadow area on the lower bottom. So let's go for a mask. Yes, nice.
Can it be that you're here with me? Let's start writing our own history. Let's take this road, oh, this winding, winding road. Let's just take the long way home. You've got me running in circles.
So as always, it's all about light. It's all about, yeah, light that gives you that special look and feel and put some emotion to your photos. And here you can see the light setting over there. It was coming through that window, reflecting all over her face, and paired with the Canon FD vintage lens, it gives you that dreamy look. Like there was no Tiffin Black Pro Mist filter on my lens. It was simply that, that vintage lens. So if we zoom in, you can see the difference to all that expensive modern lenses. This is what makes it so much more organic. How bright areas blend into midtones and into shadow areas. And yeah, this gives you that nice dreamy look without any filter. It's just because of the coating of the lens and how the lens was made back in the days compared to that super perfect modern glass, which costs a shit ton of money and often looks way too perfect. Really heavy bokeh, a bit blurry, but somewhat aesthetic. And that's basically what I love about these lenses. So there was a window standing in the garden and the sun was almost gone, and I sat in front of it and just took some snaps, and this is how it turned out. That's a photo out of camera.
Oh, just going round, going round. You've got me, you've got me, you've got me spinning in circles.
That's also nice. If you don't want to go for that warm look, You can also bring down the temperature to give it this cold feeling. So on the way back home, I found this street lantern, and I just did some minor adjustments in crop, like this. And what I did then was to pull up a gradient over here. Make it a bit darker. And set up another. Add some saturation. And then I changed this blue to a bit more turquoise. Yeah, like this. And of course, don't forget the grain. Okay, that's a bit too much. Yeah, like this. Last but not least, spinaci. This one turned out pretty sharp. I mean, let me pull down the grain. And that's also aperture 1.2. This one turned out super crisp. And it was shot on ISO 1600. This is the original image. Some of you asked me how to achieve that green tones in your photography. So let me just reset this one real quick. And let's turn it into super nice greens. So that's it. I just wanted to share those photos with you. Feel free to follow me on my Instagram, where I'm posting a lot of these photos and photos from our everyday life. And yes, see you in the next video. Bye.